Whether it be my story or my guest stories, we all share parts of the human experience. In our own ways, we have all faced triumph and challenges, both joy and pain, both gratitude and grief. My life changed forever on October 11, 2019, the day I had a stroke. It had a ripple effect, not only for me, but also for those I cherish. Through grace, we are here today to pay it forward. It's my mission to focus on what brings us together and help people find their path through life stories. A lady of many talents, Nikki's passions truly live with helping people and children. Her charity endeavors span over the course of 13 years, which is committed to improving the lives of homeless, orphaned, and at-risk youth worldwide. She continues in her passions, now running a charity called Heart and Hand. I always say that everyone has a story, and Nikki clearly has a great story. Okay, tell me about Heart and Hand.
Heart and Hand is a nonprofit organization that I founded 11 years ago. We work with youth in the Northeast Denver communities. We started in 5 Points. And the original vision was to provide a safe haven for these kids after school, kids that typically went home to an empty home with no food. Parents, had to work. And we wanted to create a space that was like a second home for them, that they could come in and feel loved and supported, and we could help them with their homework and their academics, and then provide them with opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise get, like taekwondo classes and yoga and art classes, and just all of the things that their more affluent peers are given and provided by their parents, and these kids were not given the same opportunities. So it was really just to even the playing field for these kids and give them opportunities that their peers were getting.
So I'm going to go back in time.
Mm-hmm.
You were in the restaurant business once upon a time.
I was. So big change. I'm Canadian, as you know, and in Canada, I owned 2 restaurant bars, and I owned those for 8 years. And when I moved to I sold them and moved to the United States, and it was kind of like a fresh start for me. I could do anything I wanted, and in my life prior to that point, I had to make money. I had to, do anything I could to survive, basically. And I got to a point where, what do I want to be when I grow up? And what do I want to do? And this is in my 30s, so it was a really cool opportunity. And I did a lot of soul searching, and the restaurant business is fun, but there's not a lot of depth there. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do something, I wanted to give back. And
because why?
I grew up in a loving home, but my parents lived paycheck to paycheck, and I could relate to a lot of what the kids we serve went through or are going through, from, not having the new clothes to go to school. I came home to an empty home. My parents were, busy keeping food on the table and a roof over our heads. So they didn't care about, or they didn't have time to think about putting us in after school programs and those kinds of things. So I could really relate. And I was in a position that I was able to support a program that could offer these kids these opportunities without them having to pay for them.
So the financial stability made you make the transition?
The financial stability was definitely there to give me the opportunity to do whatever I wanted, and not have to, work. But I also had this network of amazing people around me, friends and my husband's colleagues, that are very generous people that give all the time. But so I knew that I had the support behind me to do something good in the community.
Okay, so what does it take to start a charity?
Oh, I had no idea. I went in totally ill prepared, but figured it out as I went because it was a totally new, new area for me. And the first thing I did was came up with this idea, and the way this happened was I was a volunteer for CASA, Court Appointed Special Advocates for Children, for 6 years when I first moved here, and realized that this was my path. This was my passion. I loved working with underprivileged youth. And I learned a lot about the nonprofit environment, from fundraising to being on a board, all of the different pieces of the puzzle. So once, I got to a point after volunteering for so long that I thought my entrepreneurialness came out, if that's even a word.
It's contagious. So
and I was like, I want my own nonprofit. I want to do this on my own. I came up with a kind of, a outline of what it was going to look like. I then put a business plan together and started talking to my friends, and just to see if I had the support that I was going to need to get it off the ground. I definitely did. And then I started researching the city to figure out where this was most needed, where this organization was most needed. I landed in Five Points, which 11 years ago, Five Points was a very underserved community. So landed in Five Points through a fundraiser, a gala, to raise the initial capital to get started. And I really just learned as I went.
And the community embraced you. No, maybe not.
That was probably my biggest hurdle, to be honest with you. My services were wanted, but my intentions were questioned because I was not from the community. I did not look like the people in the community. So it took me probably 2 years to really build the trust of the community and show that my intentions were pure and I wasn't there for anything other than to support the community, the families, the kids. And so, yeah, it was probably the biggest hurdle.
Because somebody had done it before and failed?
No, I don't think so. I think the question was more why. It was my why. Why do you want to be here? What's your intent?
What's your response?
My why was solely because I want to help the community. I mean, it was very simple. It was very organic. It was
Too simple, right?
Too simple.
Yeah.
That made it unfathomable to the community that I would just come in and provide all this programming and, meals for our families and for the kids after school. Like, why? Without being paid, like it didn't make sense. So what I really had to do was just take the time and invest my time in the community and prove my worth, my purpose. Yeah.
So how many kids in the initial group?
I had, the initial plan was to have 25 kids a day. Well, word of mouth spread through the community, through schools, through neighborhoods. And within 2 weeks, I had 60 kids.
Oh, wow.
We were in this tiny little house in Five Points, and we were busting at the seams, but it really didn't matter. It was chaos, but it was a safe place, and the kids were getting a meal, and we figured it out as we went.
And you are now a happy family of how many?
300 a day.
Oh, my God. Really?
Yeah. 6 programs now.
Wow. And have you expanded your building, your house?
So now what we do, we still have the house. We use that for one of our programs. It's our college and career readiness program. So it's the older kids, and we don't have, they don't come in. It's not an after school program. They don't come in every day at 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock like the younger kids do. It's a mentoring program. So it's a one-on-one with our staff, and they come in on their own, their own time. The other programs are all in Denver public schools. So we have 3 other programs. We have 1 middle school, 2 elementary school programs, and they are all within
So they
DPS
just
schools.
stay at school.
They stay at school. So our staff goes in after school and starts programming with the kids that are in the school that are enrolled in our program.
So how long does a child stay there after school?
Till 6:30. So 3 to 6:30, they get a meal, academic programming, and then extracurricular activities, whatever that might be. They change all the time.
And if a mother can't pick up a child, or a grandma or sister?
I mean, it's happened. We've had to drive kids home. We've had to track parents down. Over 11 years, we've experienced a lot of different things with families. Families, they struggle, and they're often single parent families. And so we are there to support. Our organization, the way I look at it, is a safety net for our families. We are a second layer. Our families they love their kids, but their time is limited, their means are limited. And so sometimes they don't have backup. They don't have someone to call. They don't have a family member to call to say, pick up my kid, or, I don't have shoes for them for school, or whatever that might be. They can't afford to get extra help for tutoring or whatever that is. So they come to us, and we do everything we can to provide that safety net, that second layer of support for them.
So does the adult or head of the household confess, I'm having problems, or are they embarrassed?
Yes and yes. Definitely embarrassed. It takes time, again, for the families to build trust in our staff members. So our it's a relationship-based organization, and that's what we're set out to do. We're set out to build trust and get to know our families so that, we can anticipate also. They don't have to always come to us. We can anticipate their needs and make it as discreet as possible while still being there for them,
Okay, so does the child open up?
Sometimes, yeah. I think the biggest thing with the kids is when they have things going on at home. They don't always tell us what's going on, but you can tell by their behavior. They often act out, and typically when that happens on a consistent basis, that there's something else going on. And usually what I've seen we have an amazing team, and a lot of them have social work backgrounds. And so they end up building that relationship with the student so that they can, help them through whatever turmoil they're going through.
So I have volunteered a couple times, and you have to be the most unjudgmental person in the world. And how do you remain that way? Because you have children of your own, and you come home to that.
Yeah, I think what you realize is every parent loves their children, wants to give their kids everything they can, but there are so many hurdles in their way. I think at the core of everyone, we're all the same. We're all the same. We all have the same.
Everybody has a story.
Everybody has a story. So, not judging a book by its cover, so cliche, but it's true. You have to look at people from a empathetic, point of view, and just know that they want the best for their kids.
And how do you pick staff that is so open to that?
Well, like I said, a lot of our staff have social work backgrounds. We go to the schools to, promote the organization and our job positions. But the reality is it's not a high-paying job. And so people that apply for that job do it for the right intentions. They want, they have the same passion for the work that I do.
So have you had children graduate? And
Oh, yeah.
okay,
That's
tell me
the
that's
best part. So 11 years in, I keep in contact with, I would say, probably 5 or 6 of our kids that started 11 years ago that went through the entire program.
You're gonna make me cry. But
Oh,
okay.
it's so amazing. I get messages all the time, through Facebook or whatever, just checking in or graduation pictures, and it's the best part of what's been created.
And what do you find they go into? Do they give back?
They do, actually. They've often, I don't know how many, but they've come back and worked in our summer program because we provide a summer camp every summer. So they've come back and worked. A lot of them have come back and worked with us.
Is that rewarding?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's full circle.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna ask, what would you have done differently?
I think if we had the means, I wouldn't have gone into the schools as much. I loved the environment of having the house and having that feel of, a second home for these kids. And I would have loved to see the kids be able to get out of school and not be at school from, whatever time they start in the morning until after dinner or dinner time. So I would have loved to have a big building of my own so that we had more of a home environment.
And your biggest accolade? Did I say that?
I think so. I think the biggest accolade for me is seeing these kids' success, the ones that have been through the program for so long, and them coming back and when I have conversations with them, their memories of Heart and Hand, and that they all went to different schools, and they came to Heart and Hand at the end of the day, their school day, and they had a whole other set of friends and a second family there. So that, I think the stories of their memories of Heart and Hand are what make it all worthwhile.
And
for
the friendships that
they created at Heart and Hand
remained?
Wow.
That's
a lot of them. Yeah.
Okay, tell me about your kids. How has that affected your kids?
Well, first of all, I'll start with my older ones. My daughter, my oldest is 30. Wow. Going to be 30, actually. He's 29. He's going to be 30 in a couple of months.
Happy birthday. Okay.
Almost. He's actually on our board.
Wow.
On our Community Professionals board. So he's involved from that perspective, which is really cool. My daughter, who is 27, she worked for us for many years as one of our program leaders. And then my younger guys, they're only 10 and 14, but they've come down to the center with me their entire lives. And, I think it's been a great experience for them because it looks different down there from where they've grown up.
So a lot of questions when you go home?
Not really. I think it's because they've been going down for so long. Being at the ages that they are, they definitely recognize the difference. Yeah. And I think that they appreciate, when they've grown out of clothes or, their toys or books, they always say, let's take them down to the kids at the center. More compassionate? I think so. I think that more compassionate and more respectful of what they have.
That's nice. Mm-hmm. So your son is going to take over the charity?
Charity? Yeah. I don't think we can afford him.
So what's next?
What's next for Nikki? Mm-hmm. I'm on the board, active on the Heart and Hand board, obviously. Currently, I am back at CASA mentoring a freshman female that goes to Lincoln High School. And I'm really busy with my kids right now. Mm-hmm. The boys are busy. I'm grateful that I'm able to be available, to drive them, pick them up from school, take them to their sports. So I think I'm gonna try and coast, but that's that's not gonna happen.
And what do you want for the future of Heart and Hand?
I'd love to see Heart and Hand grow and, open programs across the city. I think Northeast Denver and Five Points is not the only city that needs support. And so eventually I'd love to see it grow.
Have you ever mentored another person like you to foster another?
I haven't come across anyone that has wanted to start a nonprofit from the ground up.
You're
At this
unique.
point. Work for free.
Yeah. So, what would you like your legacy to be?
I think my legacy is my family, my children. I want to see them grow to be happy, loving, kind humans that give back to the community. I'm so proud of Heart and Hand and what I've created, and I'm very proud that that's going to be a part of my legacy, and to watch it, grow and other people take over and make it more amazing than the last person. And just, I think from my friends and family to say, look back and say, I was a loving, kind human that just loved people.
I will say that. Okay, how do we help Heart and Hand?
It's been a weird year with COVID. I want to say send people down to volunteer, but we're not there yet. We're still not using volunteers at this moment. But just spread the word. Go on our website, look and see what we're doing. Come to our events. If you know people, especially corporate sponsors that is in their their giving platform, this working with youth, introduce us to them, because we can't grow without support from the community.
So how do you manage without volunteers?
Staff. It's we've had to pay more people. We do have interns that are slowly being able to come back. We have quite a few interns actually, but we'll get back to we need volunteers, and we'll get back to that. It's just a wait and see. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I'm gonna cry. And what would you like to say to conclude?
I would just like to say thank you to you for being interested in my story.
Very interested.
Thank you. No, thank you. And thank you for doing this. I think this is an amazing thing. And not a lot of people get to sit down and reflect on, what they've done and how they feel about it, really. And it's a cool thing to do. And I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Do you have a story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Please visit LoriCorken.com. There you will find more stories like the one you heard today with our series, The Power of a Voice.